I am Heather Nelson. Uh, I have 8 children, and I've been married for 24 years. I have been homeschooling for about 20 of those years, and 3 of my oldest are grown, and then I'm still homeschooling the last 5. My hobbies include I love to do physical fitness and exercise types of things. I also love to learn, and so I am the Quest mentor for our Commonwealth. I am constantly reading, and so I'm part of book groups frequently and head up book groups. I also mentor women who have been through abuse and trauma, because I am also someone who has been through abuse and trauma, and I've come through a lot of things with therapy and with a lot of different strategies, and so I know how to help women with that. So I've mentored women through that. And I also love to do my own personal history. Both of my parents are professional genealogists. My father has actually since passed away, but both my parents were professional genealogists, and so I have a spark in me for family history, but I take it on the route of my own personal history and scrapbooking and making sure that I journal and write down the things that are actually going on now, because no one else can do that. So one of the things my mom has been really appreciative of is personal histories that people have written. And unfortunately, she still has not written her own. She stresses about that, and she's in her mid 70s. And so I want to do that now when I'm in my mid 40s instead, so that I don't have to be leaving that to the end, and making sure that I have something written down for my children and my grandchildren and posterity to know about what happened in my own life. Well, I have known Audrey for many years, and she had mentioned, I knew her back when she was doing George With. I've known her when she was doing the Corrie ten Boom, I forget what she called it, but the thing that was associated with the 10 booms. And I've known her I actually had her as a cabin mom up at the mom's retreat as well. So we've been able to talk quite a bit, and I've always been interested in what she does, because she has a way about her of helping to bring me to question the things that I hadn't questioned previously, and so I had been following her and saw the mission driven mom, but being as busy as I am, I hadn't been that interested in it, in full throwing myself into it, until I had my co-mentor in Quest became a part of it and asked me if I wanted to join as well, so that I could be accountability partners with her and a few other people. And so that was when I jumped in. When I really am a social learner as well. I love to communicate what I've learned to other people, because it helps solidify it. And so having that already set up where I didn't have to search for an accountability partner or a group of people, that was enough for me to get into it this past year. Reading the book Christy, that one, I had never even heard of that book. I had heard about the TV show, but I hadn't ever actually watched that really either. But reading that book just gave me insight. So as I said, I've been experienced trauma and abuse in my own family. My son is actually in prison for something that he has done, and I've got relatives who have done things. We have a history of abuse and difficult things that have happened. And so reading through some of the things that happened with her, just the history of people, and trying to get through that, and the perspective that she took on God was really helpful for me to ask myself more questions, and kind of look at where I've come from, and not to judge myself as Christy started out with seeing things that needed to change and wanting it all to just happen at once, and realizing that that's kind of how I started my own journey, as being frustrated that I wasn't farther along, but realizing that I'm making steps, and that I can do one thing at a time and move forward in that way. And I've known this, but it makes a difference hearing a story about it and seeing that I know this is some form of fiction, but there's also biographical details there that make it more real and make it so it's easier to be seen in my own life and how that's playing out. So it makes me feel more comfortable with my next step, rather than being stressed about, how I'm failing. I found it really interesting. I know that going through the 7 the 7 types, what was it? The book where they talked about the strengths, and one of them was intrapersonal. And I was talking with my co-mentor today at Quest, and she talked about how she was so nervous about this interview. And although most of the other people in my group had said the same thing, and I had never felt nervous because interpersonal is like my 3rd strength. So I've been through lots of therapy, and I've been through lots of experiences with studying myself because I've needed to. And so there was no nervousness that came with this. So I just thought that was really interesting that, to relate that to what I've been studying, that of course everyone, knows about themselves. Why is writing down 100 things about yourself that are your strengths so difficult? Because that was my group. Everyone was saying that. And I'm like, that took me 20 minutes. I don't understand what was so hard. So yeah, it was interesting to realize that I felt that way, and to recognize that I needed to put myself in other people's shoes, that that's not their strength, but then also to understand why others expect me in some ways to relate to them when it's about the things that are not my strengths.
Right.
So it helped me to understand their perspective as well as why I'm feeling that way. And anyway, that was a really big eye-opener for me as well. Just realizing that my strengths are not everybody else's, and here's how that works in life. I mean, I've always heard that before, and I know that, but how that applies in this situation was a new thing for me, and it was really eye-opening. So I was looking forward to level 2, because this one, like I said, I'm intrapersonal. This one studied a lot about my own weaknesses and my own how I see myself. And as I've said, I've done lots and lots of work on that. So I'm looking forward to something that moves into a whole new level, because something that I really haven't studied before. I've explored a little bit of what the titles are there. Obviously, I can't go into the details because I haven't bought the level 2, but I'm looking forward to doing something new that I haven't explored before. And I know Audrey's level of study is beyond where I have been. And so I'm looking forward to being mentored by someone who's been there and knows how to lead. That's actually something I was mentioning with my group as well, that I've read all of the books except for 2 that we read through all of these 4 levels, Christy and the strengths that I was just mentioning, not the Strengths Finder 2.0. I've read that one actually as well, but the difference in her program is that she does the interdisciplinary, where she doesn't just have you read through one book and then write on that one book. She'll tie one principle that comes from the 7 habits, or that comes from the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and then put it into how does this relate to this other part that you read in this book, and then relating those is what made breakthroughs for me, not just reading through the books. So I think that she has a gift. Audrey has a gift with tying those things together, seeing those things in the books in a new way that is not common. And it's really been great to have that be mentoring me through even online and through a book. It's really pretty cool that how she has set this up to work even with those who have studied for a long period of time or who are just beginning. It really works well.